Hello and welcome back to Supposedly Fun. My name is Greg. I am here today to do my Friday Reads video, which is where I catch up on the weekend reading and any bookish things that happened during the week, all things like that. We will be getting to the actual Friday Reads portion of this video a little bit later. I did not finish any books since last week's Friday Reads video, but I did make a lot of progress in them. And again, we'll talk about that when we do the actual Friday Reads portion of this video. If you follow along, you know last weekend I was in Colorado. We had gone for a memorial for Joel's grandmother. Thank you for all the kind words about the memorial and Joel's grandmother. That was very nice. Thank you so much. And we did a book vlog where we toured through independent bookstores along the way. I will put a link to that video in the description box down below if you have not already checked it out. I am wearing my Boulder Bookstore t-shirt that I got on the trip. I think this is one of 4 t-shirts that I got, and then Joel got 2 t-shirts on his own. He got this same t-shirt, but in red, and he got a t-shirt from the tattered cover, and I got a hoodie from the tattered cover, which I have been wearing all week because it's been cold in Missoula, but today has been warmer, so it's good to know that I have a nice bookstore hoodie that's going to keep me warm when it does get cold and the cold sticks around. But it was a great tour. Because we were traveling around so much, I didn't get any reading done while we were gone, but I have gotten a lot done since we've been home, and I'll talk about that. But I did think it would be fun to do a before and after on the map that we were using. So I'll put up the before right here. And this was a map that was put out by IndieBound. In the video, I said that it was put out by bookshop.org, and that was incorrect. It was put out by IndieBound. I can't find a link to where you can buy it because it was created specially for independent bookstores for Independent Bookstore Day. And it's just a map of independent bookstores that you can color in the ones that you have visited. This is my before, and you can see there's a lot of white. There's a lot of white all over the map. And part of that seems unfair because there are a lot of areas where I've been to bookstores that are just not on the map, but you know, what are you going to do? It is what it is. So this is the before, and I'll show you the after now. So there's a lot more green, at least in this area. Green is stores that I have visited. Somebody asked in the comments underneath the bookstore vlog what pink means, because there's a pink dot in the Denver metro area. And basically, that just means that that particular store, Alcott's Attic, no longer has a physical location. They do pop-up events and they sell online. So I don't know if there used to be a brick and mortar location at the time that this map was created, but there is not one right now. So there's really no store to visit, which is why I marked it as pink. Just sort of cross it off the list and say, I don't need to visit this one. But also because they do pop-up events, it's unlikely that since I don't live in the area that I would be able to attend one. So it's sort of crossing it off the list without really actually doing anything drastic. Now, just a quick footnote. I was supposed to put a pink dot on Win City Books in Casper, but I accidentally put a green one because we didn't make it there on Wednesday during our drive, and they were closed on Sunday when we drove back. We had to stop for gas in Casper. So we did stop and park outside the store and look in the window, but we did not actually go in. So I was supposed to put a pink dot on that one, but I got a little green happy as I was coloring in. So I have to fix that when I have a moment and a little time to figure it out, because I don't have any white out. But anyway, just a footnote about that. I thought it'd be fun to show you the before and the after. It was a really great trip. I'm glad everybody enjoyed meeting Joel. It was fun. I will try to figure out a way to get him back on the channel at some point, because it was fun for me to film with him, and from the comments it seems like you guys enjoyed it. So we'll try to figure out a way to get him back before too long. I think if nothing else, at the end of the year it would be fun to sit down with him and talk about some of the best books we have both read this year, because he has read a lot of books this year, and it would be interesting to sit down and talk to him about that. So we will try to do that. Another video I will put in the description box down below is the reaction I did to the National Book Award long list. They will be announcing the shortlist on October 5th, so there's not a whole lot of time before that happens. So if you haven't watched that video, I would love for you to get familiar with the long list and let me know what you think of it in the comment section down below. We're in the height of book season, or book award season rather, and that is really exciting. We got the winner of the Women's Prize. We have the shortlist for the Booker Prize. We're not too far away from them announcing the winner of that. Now we have the National Book Award in play. We're not very far away from the announcement of the Nobel Prize for Literature. It's an exciting time of year for book prizes, and I just love it. And we're not too far away from the announcement of the New York Times 100 notable books and their best books of the year as well, which is something I always look forward to every year and do a reaction to as well. So looking forward to all of those things playing out as we head into the end of the year. I can't believe we're getting this close to the end of the year. Feels like time has flown. And I wanted to quickly mention something that will be coming as we head into October. If you are a bookish person who follows BookTube or participates in BookTube, you know October means Victober. And I have done at least one book in the past 2 years that participates in Victober. And I was thinking about it this year because, as usual, I'd like to do at least one book that would participate. I don't want to spend a whole month dedicated to one theme, but I have participated in the past, and I, on the one hand, would really like to participate this year. But there are a lot of books that I want to try to finish before the end of the year. And when I say a lot, there aren't too many. There are a couple of books that I had been really anticipating and looking forward to that I would like to get to. And I need to finish my checklist for the Montana Book Company. I think I only have 5 or 6 categories left for that one. It's not like there's too much, but if you know me, you know I really am terrible at reading lists and TBRs. So I would like to give myself as much time as possible to get those things done without putting a lot of strain and pressure on myself in the month of December. So I am thinking that I will probably not get anything in that would participate in Victober this year. And if I do manage to get something in, great, that'd be fantastic. 2 years ago, I participated by listening to the audio of Cranford by Elizabeth Gaskell, and that was one of my favorite reads of the year. So if there's an audio that comes up that would qualify, I would certainly do it that way. However, a lot of the books that I want to read before the end of the year are on audio. So I'm kind of backlogged on that right now. So again, the odds are I will not end up participating in Victober, but it is something I have enjoyed in the past, and I want to put it out there as a reminder that Victober is coming if you yourself would like to participate. And if you are, I would love to hear what you're going to read, because part of the fun of Victober is what everybody reads, what everybody discovers, and all of that. So if you are going to participate, please let me know what you will be reading for Victober in the description or in the comment section down below. I would love to hear that. Now let's get into my question from the 3K Q&A. Last summer, I hit 3,000 subscribers on this channel and agreed to do a Q&A and did a couple of videos. I didn't finish all of the questions in dedicated videos, so I'm going through the remaining questions one by one in Friday Reads videos. And this week's question comes from Halima Basri, who says, years ago, when you and your husband knew you were becoming fathers, did you pick up any books that gave you guidance? If so, did the book or books end up helping you? What are the books? Would you recommend them to future parents? Well, the tricky thing for us is when we thought about how we wanted to become parents and what we wanted our family to look like. Obviously, as a gay couple, biological children is not really an option. There are ways in which it can be done, but all of those are really prohibitively expensive. So we are not going to be pursuing any of those. And there is also adoption, like you could adopt a baby or a child or a teenager, and it's an option, but we thought the greatest need would come from being foster parents. And Joel's mother worked with foster kids back in the day, and Joel actually, when people would age out of it wasn't really a foster home where they were living, but when they aged out, they would frequently stay with Joel's mother until they were able to get on their own 2 feet. And actually one of them kind of ended up staying part of the family's lives for many years, and they still consider her a sister. So foster parenting was something that was really important to Joel because he has that history with it, and it is something that I the way I see it, that's where the greatest need is. So it just kind of made sense that would be what we should do. For various reasons, we wanted to go with the teenagers. So, it's difficult to say. When we knew we were becoming fathers, well, it was not any kind of orthodox way of becoming a father. Certainly not the kind of way that people write parenting books about. So as far as I know, there are no books about the foster parenting experience. And if you know of some, please let me know in the comment section down below, because I would be very curious. There is not a lot about the experience of being a foster parent. You are much likely to find books about the experience of being a foster child. In fact, the book that was given to us by a foster agency when we started exploring what it would take to become a foster parent and what agency we wanted to work with. Ultimately, we did not work with the agency that gave us this book, but they gave us something called Three Little Words. I forgot to grab the book, and I think it's by Ashley Carter Rhodes, but I could be wrong about that. I'll put a picture of it up. And it is about, it is a memoir about the experience of being a foster child and going from foster home to foster home and all of that. I had previously read a book by someone who had been raised in the foster system and the difficult experience that they had. And so I already had that sort of a background, so I ended up not reading this book. Part of me would be curious to do it, but since I've already been a foster parent at this point, I'm kind of unlikely to ever get to it. But if you're interested, it was one that was recommended to me. So there you go. It's difficult because, like I said, there really isn't any guide to becoming a foster parent or anything like that, anything about the experience of being a foster parent, which is very much not like traditional, typical parenthood. If you have a biological child or even if you adopt, it's very different. And I think it's important to understand that, and not to pick out or single out Halima, but I think it is frequently assumed that being a foster parent is a lot like regular parenting, and it's very much not. It has its own set of challenges, its own set of rewards. So a lot of the time when you're in the middle of the situation, it doesn't feel rewarding. It's more of like a long-term thing. You kind of just hope that things are going to work out in the long term, and the short term it can be a lot, to be honest. I'm glad we did it, and hopefully there will be lots of rewards and payoffs down the road, but it's difficult. Some weeks are better than others, but a lot of the time it feels like a lot of work, and maybe somebody should write a memoir about the experience of being a foster parent. I don't know if that person should be me, but it would be nice if somebody did. So if you know of one, please let me know. But no, there was really nothing that we had to give us guidance other than the experience of other foster parents and people who work in the foster parent system. And even that, it's one thing to hear the ways in which it will be difficult, and it's another to actually live them. So I guess we were prepared, but again, it's one thing to hear that something will be a certain way, and then it's another to actually live it and experience it for yourself. So I don't know if that really helps. If you're interested in foster parenting, the best thing you can do is talk to a foster parent. I don't know if you know one, great, talk to them, see if they're willing to have a chat with you. Otherwise, if you reach out to a foster agency, they might be willing to put you in touch with a foster parent. I know the foster agency we ultimately worked with, when we had a discussion with somebody there, they invited us to one of their foster parent training meetings. They call it a training meeting, but really it's just almost like a support group of foster parents. So we were able to sit in on that before we even began the process of getting registered or licensed to be foster parents. So I would be willing to bet that a foster agency in your area would probably do the same thing, or hook you up with a foster parent to talk to so you can get a sense of what the experience is like. So that's all I will say about that. Let's get into the actual Friday Reads portion of this video. Like I said, I did not finish any books this past week because I did bring the 5th season with me to Colorado, which was adorable of me because I thought I would have time. I'm reading 2 books at one time, 2 physical books at one time. And I finished my check-in point for Love Medicine, which we will get to. And Britta agreed to delay for a week, so I didn't have to check in with her about that. So I took this one because I was going to have to stay on track for this buddy read, and I didn't even pick it up at all because Wednesday, we drove 14 hours. 14 hours assumes we didn't stop, and of course we stopped. So ultimately, we woke up at 4 a.m. in Missoula, left at 4:30. We arrived in Colorado at around 8 p.m. So however many hours that is how long we were in the car. And by then, of course, I wasn't going to read. Thursday was the memorial. We were driving around a lot for that. We stayed late, sitting outside with a lot of people who had known Joel's grandmother and talking to them. And that was lovely. So no reading got done on that. We didn't get back to the hotel room until late on that night either. And I was kind of tired, still tired from the day before. So we went to bed and I didn't get any reading done. Thursday was our bookstore tour in the suburbs of Denver, and same thing, driving around a lot. Friday, we were in Denver, driving around all day, so I didn't feel like reading by the time we got back to the hotel room. And then Sunday, we reversed the trip and drove home. So I didn't get to pick this up until Monday. That's the takeaway from all that lengthy explanation. So I already did my check-in with Erica. I will put a link to her blog down below because she is back on book 2, but had been taking a break. So I'll stick with the blog for now. And I admit I have a little quibble with this book that once I get talking about, I kind of end up it's sounding like I'm really irritated and talking about it at great length. But I am really enjoying the book. And it's going to be interesting because now there are only 100 pages left. And I don't know how N.K. Jemisin is going to resolve. There are 3 different sort of storylines or narratives in the book. I don't know how she's going to resolve them all in 100 pages. And I know that this is the first book in a trilogy. So in my message to Erica, I was kind of saying, it's like, I really hope there's some kind of resolution from this because I don't think I'm going to be getting to book 2 anytime soon, possibly not even until next year. So I'm nervous about that as well, but I am really enjoying the book. I can see why a lot of people really love N.K. Jemisin and her writing and are just so in love with her because she does a lot of really clever things in very subtle ways. And she deals with a lot of topics, especially heavy topics, in this book without feeling heavy-handed or like she is being manipulative or cloying at all. And that is a pretty staggering feat. In particular, there are a lot of things in this book that speak really cleverly to issues of race, to issues of sexuality, and issues of gender. There are a lot of characters in this book who have not necessarily fluid gender, but when you first see them, they might appear male, but then they realize that they appear female. There is at least one character who appears to be transgender, although it is not named. And that is really interesting. There are a little bit of questions of sexuality, especially in terms of one character. I don't want to give anything away. And the way in which, if you've experienced any kind of discrimination at large, there are a lot of things in this book that will feel resonant to you. And yet the book does not really directly deal with issues like racism or homophobia or transphobia or anything like that. So it's doing them in indirect ways, and that's really clever. The thing that kind of gets me is that N.K. Jemisin really throws you into the deep end with this book. She doesn't spend a lot of time situating you or explaining things to you. You just sort of get into the book and then into the flow of it, and you figure it out as you go. There is a glossary in the back of the book, but she doesn't spend a lot of time with exposition. Like, she doesn't tell you, here's the history of the world, or here's why this person is doing this. You just experience it and try to piece it together as you go. By and large, that works really great. However, there are instances where it feels like N.K. Jemisin is being deliberately confusing or deliberately confusing you as a reader, and not giving you the information that would help you understand the situation. And I can't really give a lot of specifics without spoiling details about the plot. All right, actually, here's a good one. There are obelisks in the sky in the world, and it's understandable that the characters in this world would take it for granted that those are there and they exist and they don't really know what they're doing or what they used to do. However, she never gives you any kind of explanation as to the history of these. So you kind of figure out, I'm guessing that they've been around for a really long time and nobody really knows what they do, because she doesn't give me anything about that. Now, book 2 in this series is called The Obelisk Gate, I believe. Yes, The Obelisk Gate. So I assume there will be an explanation, but especially since there's no first-person narration, you have a sort of omniscient person who is narrating this, it would just be really just easy to say, there are obelisks in the sky, nobody really knows what they do. Just tell me that. It's fine. You're not taking anything away from the book by saying that. Don't make me try to figure out what's going on. So And again, this is where it sounds like I'm really irritated when I talk about it, but I do really like the book. And there are a lot of circumstances that are kind of similar to that in the book. Not a lot. They build as it goes along, though, which is probably why I'm a little seeming irritated by it now. And even there are circumstances where like an event will happen and she's sort of deliberately not telling you what's going on. And it would have been so easy to just explain. Like, again, it's like, don't make me try to figure it out. You can tell me. Because then even after the scene is over, I feel like I'm still wondering. And that could be a little frustrating for me as a reader because it ties in with one of my pet peeves about reading, especially with mystery thrillers. I don't like when an author deliberately teases you that they're withholding information, and N.K. Jemisin absolutely does that. However, she's a great writer. I am really enjoying the book. So we'll see. There's only 100 pages left. Our next check-in is on Wednesday. And there are, let's see, what is the last day of September? The last day of September is Thursday. So I will be done with this by the end of the month. And I'm looking forward to being done, being able to talk about it a little more and seeing what happens, because a part of me is worried that this is going to be one of those scenarios where you feel like you need to move right into the second book and then right into the third book. And I don't necessarily want to do them back to back. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. I will be done with this by the end of the month if everything goes according to plan. And the same goes for Love Medicine, which is the book I am buddy reading with Britta Bowler. I will put a link to her profile, her channel, in the description box down below. Now, because we didn't do a check-in last weekend while I was traveling, there are only 100 pages left. So this is doable. Our check-in is supposed to be on Sunday. I should be totally fine getting that done. So this will be finished by the end of the month if all goes well again. But because it has been a week since I picked it up, and because there is a really dense cast of characters in this book, as there is in any Louise Erdrich book, here is the family tree that opens the book. I love a book with a family tree. I love a book with a map. Actually, the 5th season has a map in the beginning of it. So let's have some appreciation for that as well. So I feel like I'm going to need to reorient myself. I think I'm fine. I do think I'm fine. I'm pretty sure I remember everything that built up to where we are, but I may just sort of skim the last chapter or two and make sure, because I wouldn't want to have to spend a lot of time reminding myself what was happening. So I think if I do a little bit of skim work, I can just be on track to finish for this weekend. And I'm really enjoying this book. And we'll look forward to talking to you more about it when it is finished. I am also still listening to Damnation Spring on audio. This is by Ash Davidson, and I have a copy of the physical book, but I have been listening to it on audio. And again, as you can imagine, because I didn't get any reading done, I didn't get any audio listening done last week either. And I made good progress on it since we got home. I believe I was at 30% when we got home, and I'm now at 55%. And I am going to put a push on this as well to try to get this done and move on. Because like I said, there are a lot of audiobooks that I am really hoping to get to. So I want to start making some progress on those. But I am continuing to enjoy the story. I think part of the thing with it is that it deals with a lot of environmental issues, particularly in the field of logging, but it also deals with the issue of like the environmental poisoning, because it deals with pesticides and the damages that they cause, and that's a little bit difficult. It also deals with family secrets and complicated family drama, and if you know me, you know I am super into that. So I'm really liking this book a lot, and I am eager to see what happens, because I'm only, like I said, 55% of the way through, and there's a lot still to come. So I don't necessarily know where it's going to go, and I'm eager to see where it goes. And part of why I didn't spend a lot of time listening to it, even though I could have, was that I didn't want to be tired and listen to it, because I felt like I would miss details. I wanted to be able to fully invest. And even in the early part of this week, when I was getting back into the flow of work, I didn't want to be distracted and listen, because I think Ash Davidson is doing a lot of really smart things, and there are a lot of little deft family dramas or movements that happen in here, and there's a lot of emotional writing. So I wanted to be able to dedicate more attention to it. So I should be done with all 3 of these books by the end of the month, again, if all goes well. I don't have a firm plan for what I'm going to do next, but I have a loose plan. I had gotten the NetGalley version of Fight Night by Miriam Toews. I really want to get back to that. I really want to finish that. That's part of why I say I'm probably not going to end up participating in things like Victober, because I really want to read that book. And it's been burning a hole in the back of my mind that I have access to a copy of it and I haven't been able to pay attention to it. So that is probably the first book I'll pick up once I get these 2 physical ones off. And I really want to get back to what I had been doing all year, which is 1 physical book and 1 audio at a time. Looking forward to that as well. So Fight Night is the biggest thing that I have on deck, or at least the only plan I have on deck. We'll see what happens with everything else. I'd love to hear how your reading week has been, what you've been up to, what you've been reading, what you've been loving, what you've been hating, all of that stuff. Please put it in the comment section down below. As always, I really appreciate your time. If you leave comments, I really appreciate that. If you watch and like and all of that stuff, I appreciate that as well. And I will be back. Until next time, happy reading.